Medusa is broken. Yeah, Medusa right now is the best carry in Dota, and I'm not just saying that, I really believe that. The reason why is she's a very stable pick in the current meta. Ever since they made it where Mana Shield is now an innate and you can skill up 2 nukes in the laning stage, the hero has become much more reliable because it's a much better laner and much more tanky. You put all this together and yeah, you kind of just have the best carry in Dota because it also scales well into the game. Medusa is very easy to play. She farms fast, she frontlines, she can siege, she can take Roche reasonably well, not the best Roche hero, but okay. She kind of just does it all. And when a hero does it all, their win rate tends to be good because there's not a game where you're like, wow, I really hate the fact that I'm Medusa. Obviously you could say, oh, but what about Diffusal Wind Ranger or Anti-Mage or just general mana burn? I think all of these matchups are pretty playable. I'm not necessarily going to talk about why today. It mostly comes down just to the butterfly timing. Evasion against physical damage is good. And alright, let's get into it. On top of that, go sign up to the gameleap website, guys. I'm posting new content over there almost every day, and I'll see you there. So today, I actually picked one of the weirder Medusa builds, and you might be asking, Speed, why did you pick a weird Medusa build? Well, I'm sure if you guys have been watching the channel, you know I like weird stuff. I think it's cool, it's fun, and this build is very powerful. We're going to be looking at Gleipnir Medusa. However, if you want to play the most standard version of Medusa, here's the build. I'm going to say it now. You can do the standard stuff if you want. Okay, the most standard build is Wand into Mana Boots, into Manta, into Diffusal Blade. Then there's some variations. Some people will go straight Disperser if they want another Dispel. Some people will go Hurricane Pike just to be tanky and apply Mana Burn consistently. Or people will go straight into Daedalus. Some people will also go into Scouty for more stats. There's a lot of variation, but the most common build is Manta into Diffusal. Why Diffusal? Well, basically, it gives you agility and intelligence. Intelligence is health on this hero, and the mana burn plus slow prevents the hero from being kited. It actually feels really nice, and that's what a lot of people are doing. But we're going to be looking at a more off-meta build that is also super powerful, and let's get into it. Okay, so in the laning stage at level 1, what you want to do is nothing too much, but basically you're going to try to use the snake on a range creep plus a hero. It doesn't have to secure the range creep, it just needs to hit the range creep in the hero and you will get more mana back than you used. A lot of people will make the mistake of throwing it at melee creeps to secure the melee creeps, and you do not get mana back unless the snake hits things that have mana. So right here, for instance, he could casually throw the snake at Sand King to get the Sand King plus range creep, and that is worth it because it gives you health back. Yes, you're not securing a creep, but you're going to win the trade over time in terms of HP, which will secure you creeps over time. So don't be afraid to do that. Best case scenario is hitting a melee creep, the range creep, and then a hero, because the snake does more damage the more units you hit. It also goes faster the more units you hit. So it only has 3 bounces. You do not want to use it like that. That was a extremely shitty snake, right? You do not want to throw it when there is 3 melees. It will hit all 3 melees and not the hero. Avoid this at all costs. It pushes the wave and does not secure any creeps. It is very bad to do. A casual snake here is great. It would heal him, and it would force the Sand King to back up. In terms of items, there's some variation you can do. The most common starting item build that I've seen is either Wand 3 branches or Sage's Mask Stick 3 branches. Then what he does is a little bit different this game. I'll quickly go back to show you guys. He actually goes Stick Circlet, which is pretty uncommon because people really prefer the Sage's Mask most of the time. I don't hate what he's doing. This Circlet's going to become a Null, which actually I like a lot. The Null is great because mana regen's good, mana pool is good, and you can drop the Null on the ground when using Mana Boots, which this player actually doesn't do. We're watching, honestly, I don't exactly know who this is. It's ranked 340. Very high MMR, this is like 11.5. But yeah, you can drop the Null on the ground when clicking Mana Boots. Okay, at level 2, basically, you have this root now. It's called Gorgon's Grasp, and it basically does 100 damage per second. So at level 1, it does about 100 damage because it's 0.8 second duration. I think it's, what, 110? Yeah, which is really high, actually, for only 40 mana. The hard part is that it's difficult to land, and it's long cooldown. It's 30-second cooldown. So basically, you have to pair it with another person's disable. Your W, Snake used to slow, it no longer slows. So you got to be careful about that. It will not set up the E. You need to basically pair it with Sven Stun in this lane, and then you're going to get a lot of value. You can also try to use it when the enemy is going for a last hit to just kind of catch them off guard, and those are your options. For instance, here, the Sand King is going to go for the range creep, so I love what the Medusa does here. He knows that the guy's going to stand still, and so gets a solid root that allows him to land a few auto attacks and get a lot of valuable damage. Next couple things to note, in terms of item build, you rush Mana Boots. This is non-negotiable, don't do anything else, just rush Mana Boots. when you click mana boots, you get 175 mana, which on this hero is, what is it, 2.4 base damage per mana, so it's like 350 HP approximately. I mean, guys, mana boots are broken on this hero. It's really straightforward. You can't be pressured out of lane when you hit the mana boots timing in the majority of matchups. It's pretty crazy. Now, in terms of gameplay, guys, there's a couple things I would recommend. Number one, just try to sit in your lane and sit in your area for as long as possible. To be fair, Deuce is better than ever at rotating and showing up to ganks if you want. Like, let's say a fight's happening mid, TPing mid or running mid is a lot more reasonable. But in general, you would really want to get to level 9, level 10, so you can get your Q maxed out and really get that going. Now, in terms of items, I like what he has here. A couple things to note. He bought a Gloves of Haste, which is going to turn into Maelstrom. Talk about that in a second. He's got a Null Talisman, which I mentioned, and you should drop this Null Talisman, if you're going to buy it, on the ground every single time you mana boot. If you're not going to buy it, that's totally fine. You can just click mana boots. So for skill build, what he does here is the max nuke build, and this is what some people are trying. Basically, they don't put any points in Q, and they're going to buy Maelstrom so they can hit creeps. It's really cool because honestly, like, the E scales extremely well. And so does the W. It's like insane damage and allows you to push out waves and farm, even just with the nukes, right? So this is why this angle is really cool. The nukes are the farming ability here. It does cost a bit more mana, which is kind of problematic, plus especially when you never drop your null to mana boots. I don't know why this guy doesn't do that, no offense. But yeah, this variation is just super awesome. As you can see here, when the wave comes, 1 E is like insane damage. I mean, look at this. What in the world? It's like half of a melee creep's HP. So yeah, it's really, really efficient. And then with the Maelstrom, you can just hit camps very normally. Also, in terms of facet, he goes for Engorge. Honestly, both are good. I've seen both have very, very solid win rate. I'm really not going to get into it right now. Basically, if you don't know what Engorge does, if you don't want to think about taking the facet, if you just want to pick one, I'll talk about Engorge right now. Basically, for all the mana you steal when you use Mana Snake, it gives you damage on your next 3 attacks. It's pretty good. It's really easy to use. Basically, just use your W and you hit a little bit harder. Yeah, in this upcoming engagement, I think it's pretty cool what Medusa can do now. Now that you have 2 maxed out nukes and you're just really strong in the early game due to the fact that Mana Shield is just overall better now, is pretty cool. He hits the gate because old Medusa would just farm here. And I will admit, guys, the easiest way to play the hero is to put 3 points in Snake, 2 points in Gorgon's Grasp, and then max Q, skipping ulti at 6, maxing Q by level 9, and then basically you flash farm. That is the best way to play it. Ugh, he misses his E here, guys. Pair the E with stuns. Like, yes, obviously if the enemy doesn't see you coming, if they're running up the line, like I kind of see why he clicks it here. He thinks the troll's gonna juke away. But the problem is the troll ends up not juking away, and then it's like, okay, I could have waited a second for this fence stun, and then guaranteed my E. And it's really important not to miss the E. It's a very long cooldown at 21 seconds. You can get 2 of them off in a fight as he clicks Stone Gaze aggressively here. Something I also would almost never recommend. I know I'm hating a lot. I just want optimal gameplay for you guys. Like, I'm hating a little bit, but yeah, I don't recommend clicking Stone Gaze aggressively. It is okay because it gives movement speed. It's a lot of movement speed. It makes Medusa run 50% faster for 5 seconds, which is pretty legit and can be all right. But for instance, like when the fight actually ends up getting close, like when people try to turn on him, it would have been really nice right here to click Stone Gaze, like kite out of the smoke screen and click Stone Gaze, because he ends up dying as a result. So just keep that in mind. In terms of neutral item, any of the damage items are fine. Duelist Club, Spark of Courage, and of course any of the mana items. Arcane Ring, Lancer Pursuit is fantastic. That's probably my favorite one on this hero. You can drop it on the ground because it's a 200 mana item. You can drop it on the ground, pick it up with mana boots, and it's super efficient. Faded Brooch is also really good because movement speed is very valuable on this hero. But yeah, we're going to be going Gleipnir here, and I love this. I think it's really cool and just really good. Reason why? As I said, the E is hard to hit. It's just a very unreliable ability. It's very difficult to connect on. This guy's crazy. Me and this player are so different. I'm like, I don't know. He's so aggressive. I kind of love it, but he's so aggressive. So yeah, the Gleipnir is so great because it sets up for the E, which makes so much sense, guys, right? It's hard to hit. It's very awkward to kind of wait for your teammates' stuns in a lot of cases, so you can kind of just connect with the Gleipnir. Also at level 10, I recommend skipping the talent if you're going this build. Just max the E now. It is still nice to have max E even with Maelstrom. So yeah, he takes Mystic Sneak damage, clearly just kind of playing for like the all-in early game nuke build, which I get. I mean, you might be like 40 damage, that's terrible, but you have to keep in mind that increases per bounce, so it does kind of matter. It helps the ability snowball because of the percentage base increase. Now, the early game fights on this hero are pretty straightforward. Basically, you click Stone Gaze defensively and you just click your abilities when you see the first person. Like, you kind of just root the first person. As we see here, he goes in. Unfortunately, the smoke screen was a big problem for this game because the cast range of the Gordon's Grass is a little weird. He could have actually used it here if he just used it slightly at the edge as it extends very far, but typically you kind of walk up. And so this was a bit of an awkward start. Honestly, nice play from the Riki. Gets 3-man stun, a little bit awkward, but clicks his E and gets his Mana Snake off. And this Mana Snake completely saved him because it ends up hitting the Sand King, the Riki, and the Lina. No, it didn't hit the Lina. Oh, it really would have saved him if it hit the Lina. But it hit 2 heroes and gave him like 500 mana back, which was huge. Able to click Stone Gaze at the end as a result of getting his mana back from the Snake, and he's able to kite out. Clicks his Mana Boots and Arcane Ring, and he's back up to 400 HP again. So yeah, it's just crazy how much this hero can heal. You click your Snake, click your Mana Boots, your Arcane Ring, your Wand, and you're just gaining like 600, 700 HP out of nowhere. And right here is a great example of like why this hero can be really OP. Number one, take Lotuses. The 400 HP Lotus is completely broken on this hero. It is so efficient. So like, please take this. Take Lotuses, ask your supports to collect you Lotuses, they break Medusa. But yeah, he's getting chased here and it looks really awkward. Old Medusa or the other Medusa would just have to run away. But yeah, he clicks his Gleipnir and wish he tried to hit the NP with it, but whatever. And then, yeah, follows up with the E, and it's just super great, right? Ends up rooting the Sand King, preventing him from kiting out, and setting up for a super nice kill. A kill that wouldn't have happened without this, so really cool. For your next talent, he ends up going Mystic Snake cooldown, which honestly, I kind of respect. I think a lot of people just immediately go to the split shot penalty, which is understandable, but honestly, Mystic Snake is just such a good ability. It gives you so much mana back, and so I'm kind of a fan of the Mystic Snake cooldown at 15. I actually like this guy's angle, and I would personally recommend it. I do think that like the AoE split shot penalty is a little overrated. It's obviously really good, but it's a little overrated. A couple other things as well. Once again, in terms of neutral items, just anything that gives you mana. So he picks up Pupil's Gift here, which is really cool. It gives you a lot of mana, and it gives you some HP in case you run out of mana. Which isn't too valuable. You always just want more mana, guys. Don't prioritize HP at all. It's funny, he actually has a decent HP pool here because Gleipnir gives you some, Manta gives you some, and Pupil's Gift gives you a lot. So he's like sort of tanky even when his mana runs out, which is funny. And this upcoming fight here is kind of a great example of like why this Gleipnir build is so valuable. He sets up on this NP, obviously something you couldn't do with the other build. Like you're just setting up plays, allowing the Sven to close the gap. And with the Engorged, he hits pretty hard. I will admit, I think the other facet maybe is better, but either way, fight continues to break out. Mystic Snake talent coming into play here as it's back up immediately. And at this point, you can even throw it at one hero. Keep in mind, it gives you more mana back the higher mana they are. Mystic Snake does not give more mana based on how much damage it does. It just gives you a flat amount of mana back, which is 17% of their max mana. And yes, the fight continues to break out. The Gleipnir comes back up. The Riki shows. He sets up with the Gleipnir into the E. Technically wasn't needed there, but whatever. And they win the fight. And it's back up again soon. Like, this item is just such a low cooldown. I feel like the way they're going to nerf Gleipnir is increasing the cooldown if they do decide to nerf the item, because 18 seconds, like, you're just getting 3 of these off in a fight because this hero lives for so long, you know? You're just very, very survivable. As hits another snake on the troll, to be fair. Not a great snake target. Doesn't have the most mana. Has to continue kiting. Gets a little low here. Has to TV base, which I respect. And he queues up the butterfly, which I love, you know? You're against troll, you're against Lina, NP, Riki, Diffusal, like, to be fair, there is an argument this game. His other build, Manta Butterfly, might have been better just because of how valuable the butterfly is this game. You know, like, there's so much right clicks to evade. So an argument if the enemy team has like AM or PL or like Lina, Troll, like Wind Ranger, sometimes in these games you just want an early butterfly. And so going a build like this is unoptimized in games where you really want it. And so he ends up changing his mind and going for Diffusal Blade, which like, okay, it's fine, right? I talked about earlier why this item is good. It just lets you stick on top of people. It's another slow. Honestly, it makes you hit reasonably hard. But I will say, I actually would have loved to see the butterfly. I think when you're against 3 right clickers, one of which has the Diffusal Blade and one of which needs to all in you, I would totally lean towards butterfly over Disperser. Like, the Disperser, the only reason it's kind of nice this game is it gets him away from the smoke cloud, right? It gives him that movement speed buff to get out of smoke cloud, which is super good. So I think that was probably his main reasoning here. The movement speed allows Medusa to not get kited, and especially against Smokescreen, it's pretty legit. And alright, in terms of the other talents, he takes Stone Gaze duration. Mystic Snake bounces seems better, considering you're taking Mystic Snake talents on 10 and 15, but honestly, it's like way too many bounces and usually doesn't come into play. So yeah, Stone Gaze duration is better. At 25, you're taking Split Shot uses modifiers every single game. Unless you literally have 0 modifiers, but Diffusal is a modifier. Gleipnir on this build is absolutely a modifier. Scotty's a modifier. So generally you take Split Shot uses modifiers. And yeah, that's going to be about all for today's video. To close out the game, usually you're going to farm up an Aegis and go high ground, nothing too special. And that's going to be all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!